Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great Friday Eve so far, also known as Thursday, but Friday Eve is what it's called. Welcome Pete, Sam, Ethan, as well as Larry, Ben, Oversteer. TRG, you should go to the coast and stream it. If it gets close enough, we will. It would have to get very, very close. So it would have to be like the icon model type close. Very, very close. And everyone else, welcome to the stream. Everyone else who I may have forgotten to welcome, or if you're just now tuning in and may not be chatting, glad to have you in here, Brian, as well. So let's go ahead and switch on over. Charles, welcome to the stream too. Let's switch over to our main scene. I didn't check if anything was good before stream, so took a risk right there. But yeah, we've got plenty to talk about. We've got a lot of model data to go through, a lot of new information, some big trends that have happened over the last couple of, about 48 hours, right? I didn't stream yesterday, yeah. I haven't seen y'all in about 48 hours. It's been a good day or two since I was last live. So hopefully everyone has had a great Thursday. We'll just go with that so far, because Friday Eve might be a bit annoying to say every time. So thank you, Charles, for the $1 donation. I really appreciate it. Glad to see you back in chat again. And we do have to have a 5-second slow-mo. I apologize if that becomes annoying. We try to keep it as low as possible. Yeah, anything lower than 5 seconds sometimes glitches it, but we did have a spammer earlier in the chat. I don't know if it was the same spammer who harassed me and Lucky about a year back, but it is they made alt accounts too, so we're gonna have slow-mo on for at least this live stream. They made like 50 some accounts, so they have so many alt accounts I can't ban them all. Thank you, Charles, for the $2 donation. I really appreciate that as well. So we're gonna start with the National Hurricane Center here. We'll go over to just radar omega just to see the cone of uncertainty. So you could see there's our cone of uncertainty right in here. So pretty large cone that we have in place here for all the way from well east of the Lesser Antilles. And they really haven't moved this too much. Like, it looks pretty familiar from what we saw 48 hours ago. The only thing they really changed was they added this little expansion up here, obviously, because we have progressed with time. So thus, 5 days, 48 hours ago, the system was expected to be right in here. 5 days from today, it is expected to be generally somewhere right up out in here. So we'll see how things end up verifying with this cone here. But I'm a bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised it's not a bit further off to the west for the main pinpoint track right there. Also, the cone It doesn't even encompass, like, just yet at least, it doesn't encompass just barely east of the Bahamas. Some models had this going more like this, kind of like that. We had the Icon model, and then I think one of the European runs from yesterday was also very close in alignment to this, making a near miss towards like the Turks and Caicos, and also back up here, just barely east of the Bahamas. So they haven't shifted that cone yet to the west. If they did, it was very, very minimal. So this is the biggest change that has happened in the last 48 hours. They've upped the intensity, maxed wind speeds, just 5 miles per hour shy of a Category 4 hurricane. So this literally, if it does verify, we get to 125 mile per hour winds Cat 3. All it has to do is get 5 extra miles per hour and it will be classified as a Category 4. Now, let me be clear with this. You are not going to feel the difference between 125 and 130 mile per hour winds. Either way, it's going to be very close to catastrophic wind gusts. And wind gusts could be 155 to 160 miles per hour with this storm. So hopefully it does stay out to sea. Really hoping it takes this perfect track right here. Perfect track would be just like that, where it stays north of Puerto Rico, north of Haiti, north of Turks and Caicos, east of Bahamas, and then goes in between Bermuda and North Carolina. But something that we are worrying about, regardless of where this tracks, if it does track towards, closer to Bermuda or closer to North Carolina, is the surf conditions. There is supposed to be maximum wave height with this system could be 45 feet. Now that's going to be towards the center, so most likely nobody's going to be seeing that type of wave height. But towards the coastline of like the Carolinas, we could be seeing wave heights of 15 to 20 feet. Now obviously it's not going to be like a tsunami or anything, okay? It's not that, don't think like that. Just peak wave heights, so like normal waves, but they're going to be a bit higher. So that could increase surf. You could have beach erosion, so we're probably going to see some beach closures out here, especially along the outer banks of North Carolina. If you do have a vacation plan there, going into early next week and mid next week, probably going to see some big time interruptions there. I would imagine at least from Virginia Beach all the way down to Southport, North Carolina. So that's probably going to be the main area where we see those wave heights be the highest. Now, again, I want to reiterate, we're not going to be seeing 45-foot waves, okay? That's going to be like out here, where the center tracks when this is a high in Cat 3, low in Cat 4, whichever one it may be at that time. But right now, we do want to go take a look at the current satellite imagery here. We're going to go to Cyclonic WX. Cyclonic WX, because I love their satellite imagery. Let's see here. Aaron in the last 2 hours has looked a bit more promising. Well, I'm going to take a look at it. I haven't done a deep dive into the satellite. Like, I took a peek at it this morning and then realized that, whoa. Wow, this looks completely different. This thing is really strengthened. What's it at right now? 60 mile per hour winds. No shocker there. So that's what, 10 shy? Oh no, that's 15 shy of Category 1 hurricane. So it still has a bit of strengthening to do here, but man, is it ever on that trend of strengthening. Let's switch over to this scene so you guys can see it a bit better. There you go. Also above my face cam too. But yeah, you can see a huge area of convection around Aaron right now. The one thing I did see on Twitter is, let's go to the visible satellite imagery. And that is very apparent. There is definitely a good amount of northeasterly wind shear, and maybe even just northeasterly wind shear like this too, that is impacting Aaron. So this is not, it's not vertically stacked. What that means, let me slow down here, geez. What that means is this is not going to be rapidly intensifying. If you do not have a vertically stacked storm, it's basically not in alignment, right? So say like, if this does get an eye, your eye is going to be like crooked because it's not vertically stacked. So therefore it can't strengthen rapidly whatsoever. So until that fixes itself, which will probably be sometime early tomorrow morning or very late overnight tonight, we'll see this really begin to intensify. And considering how well of kind of like a blob this thing is, you can see here, this is a really, really large plume of convection. It's not like what it is to its north where you have a bunch of breaks in the convection. This is really nice. This is a really nice plume of convection that could allow for rapid intensification if the system was vertically stacked, but thankfully it is not. But again, that's going to change probably overnight tonight into tomorrow morning once it becomes a hurricane. We are getting Recon. Recon has taken off 10 minutes ago. They took off from, I'm about to find out because I don't know where they were. Let's see. I believe they took off from, is this correct? 1923. That's the last time we got a location on that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use a different site. I believe they took off from the center Lesser Antilles. Let's see. See if we can get a location update on them. Let's see here. Yeah, it says that they've already... Let's see, Aaron... Yeah, they took off 10 minutes ago. They will be in the storm in still almost an hour, so I doubt they took off from the Lesser Antilles. Most likely that was much further off to the west, but they will be inside the storm at 2130Z. That's about an hour and 19 minutes from now. And man, they will be in the storm from 21Z to 0130Z. So 21Z, 22Z, yeah, 22Z, 23Z, 24Z, and then obviously 24Z is 00Z, duh. And then 01Z. So that's what, 4 hours? 4 hours are going to be inside this storm, just consistently getting data on it. So, yeah, they've already left. It's not updated yet for some reason, but they have left. They have departed. So we'll be getting data in just around 5:30 p.m. They will be inside this storm, but I'm very curious to see what they find, and the main thing I want to see is it vertically stacked? Because, again, you have probably a bit of northeasterly wind shear that's hitting this just like this, and probably definitely some dry air entrainment too. You can see all this brown here. That's a lot of dry air that is infiltrating the northeast side of the system. But again, we have this very nice plume of intense convection here, and that's going to prevent any of this dry air from getting into the low pressure, and that is huge. That is absolutely huge. If we had dry air into the low pressure, it would take multiple more hours for this thing to intensify fairly quickly. So we'll continue to see how much that dry air can push into the north side of the system, how much our northeasterly wind shear affects the system, and what Recon finds in terms of if it is vertically stacked. A lot of questions to be answered over the next 12 hours on how this system looks. But most likely it will become a hurricane tomorrow morning. They're forecasting a 9 a.m. Cat 1 hurricane tomorrow morning, so I expect that to be correct. I don't think it will be sooner. I expect that to be correct. And then the 8 o'clock advisory will be 65 mile per hour winds, so this next advisory, we'll see what the NHC goes for. What did this look like when they did their 11 a.m. advisory? The cloud tops have definitely gotten a little bit cooler, which means stronger. And it's gotten a lot more confined. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put it at 65 mile per hour winds sustained here at the 5 o'clock update in, what, 40 minutes? 47 minutes. Another thing we're going to be talking about in this stream is this little guy right here. Now, this actually could be a problem. This little guy here is deemed 98L from the National Hurricane Center. It's located on about the southeast side of this 40% AOI. This went from a 10% small AOI to a 20% AOI, and then yesterday it was downgraded to a 10% AOI again. Overnight it got back bumped up to 20%, and then at the newest advisory at 2 o'clock Eastern, about almost 2.5 hours ago, it got upgraded and doubled to 40%. So it went from 20% to 40% in one update. And there is a very real chance this becomes a tropical storm on the coastline of southeastern Texas. We have a pretty good shot at seeing flash flooding. They upgraded this area in south central Texas to a slight risk for flash flooding. We'll take a look at that really quick. They upgraded that on their newest update. You can see they upgraded to a slight risk for flooding here on the newest WPC update. So that is a level 2 out of 4 for excessive rainfall. So I think this has a really good chance to become our next tropical storm. The biggest question is exactly where it tracks. Some models have it being landfall over here. If that is the case, this doesn't get a crazy amount of water time. So it would track from here straight up to here. Other models, like I believe the Euro and possibly the GFS, those have it making landfall tomorrow about 5 o'clock Eastern. That would give it a good solid 18 more hours over water if it makes landfall closer to Corpus Christi as opposed to east central Mexico. And that would take the track a little bit closer to like this. An extra 18 hours is a lot, especially when we're talking about the Gulf. That is a lot of extra time to try to intensify. And if we take a look at satellite imagery here, I want to show you this. Recon is in this system right now as well. I'll have to take a look at that. I haven't looked today. You can already see the corner of that. I don't know if we got a... Let's do the Gulf and Caribbean. There you go. This looks good. All right, straight up, this looks good for an invest. This is not a tropical storm or tropical depression. This is an invest. So this, in my opinion, this looks really, really solid for an invest that no model runs picked up whatsoever. We really didn't pick this up until yesterday with satellite imagery. We saw it over the Southwest Caribbean, and no model handled this well whatsoever. Many model runs just expected it to go from the Southwest Caribbean and then go towards Mexico and die out over the Southwest Yucatan or whether it be Southern Mexico. I didn't see any model runs have it traverse over the Yucatan Peninsula and then go into the southwestern Gulf like what it's done currently. So I do think this has a good chance of becoming a sneaky tropical storm. And if it does, it will likely become a tropical storm around sometime tomorrow, early afternoon, whether that be close to 12 o'clock or 1 p.m. It just depends if it's made landfall. Again, if it's made landfall, it probably won't be deemed a tropical storm. If it makes landfall at like 11 a.m., like what some model runs have said, if it makes landfall towards 5 p.m., I imagine it probably will be a tropical storm because of that extra, like I said, 18 hours over water or so. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on it to see exactly how strong it gets. But models are starting to pick up and become a bit more aggressive with it. The European model run as well. Pretty much, I don't know if it has it being a tropical storm. I believe it does have it. Yeah, I think the Euro model has it being a tropical storm tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then it makes landfall at about 5 p.m. Eastern time. So keep an eye on that. If you are out here, anywhere from about Corpus Christi, north of Corpus Christi, all the way back down to eastern Mexico, that area does have to keep an eye on this system as it moves up to the northwest. Recon data on this, I don't think it's going to be impressive at all. They're currently trying to find the center low. Doesn't look like they're having much luck. So they're trying to find the low pressure, and they're thinking it's somewhere in here. That's where they're thinking it is. They're thinking it is somewhere in this area. So they've continued to do... Actually, I could show you right here. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Let me show you right here. Only thing good about Radar Omega. Only thing good about Radar Omega right here. So you can see this pattern they've done. So they took off from over here in Gulfport, Mississippi. And they've done this pattern here where they entered the storm like this. So they're trying to find the low pressure, and they're believing it's located somewhere in here. And they're doing another pass right now. Currently, the aircraft is located right here. And they're going to try for another pass to see if the low pressure is in generally this area. And doesn't really have a lot of information. But it's hard to say where the low is, if there even is a low. It's really difficult to say. I'm sure there is a low pressure. There definitely is a low pressure. It's just very weak. It's a very, very weak low. Maximum sustained winds they have at 15 knots, which is about 20 miles per hour, maybe a little bit higher than 20 miles per hour. That's about half of a tropical storm. So it's not a tropical storm right now by any means. But I'm sure there is a low pressure here. It's just hard for me personally to see it because I'm not good at recognizing a low pressure on Recon unless it is a hurricane and you can see a very clear divot down in the millibar. They did find a millibar of about 1,002. So, I mean, do with what information that is. I think that's pretty low millibar there. 1,002 millibar low. That's not bad for a Okay, now this, I don't know why this says 995. They didn't find that type of pressure. I think that's something to do with something else there. They didn't find that type of pressure. That's lower than Tropical Storm Aaron right now. That'd be insane. That would be absolutely crazy if that's what they found in this. But it's actually closer to about 1,002 to 1,003 millibar. But the winds don't support a tropical storm. Like I said, the winds are about... Actually... Hold on a second. I don't even know if that's what they found. We'll see when they pass through this again. I'll be able to tell you. All right. How about that? I'll be able to tell you when they pass through this again. I'll be able to tell you. Because I got to get used to reading this Recon again. That's probably not correct in terms of how low that pressure is. I'm likely reading that wrong. Yeah, and then the aircraft, that's the aircraft pressure. So don't pay attention to this. This is the aircraft pressure, not actually the pressure of the system. I don't think it's 1,002. That'd be pretty strong. See if they have any notes on this. Did they do a drop zone on this? See if they did a drop zone on this. I don't think the NHC... I don't believe the NHC is going to be using drop zone data as much this hurricane season. All right. So this drop zone says 1017 surface. But this was launched at 1619Z, so I don't know exactly where that was. For all I know, that was in the Northern Gulf. They don't have it doesn't show a pinpoint on that. So I'm not able to tell you exactly where that was found at. But that's probably closer. That's probably closer. I don't think it's below 1015, honestly. I don't think it's below 1015 millibars. So again, just to reiterate, I think the maximum sustained winds are probably 20 to 25 miles per hour. And then the millibar is probably somewhere around 1015. I don't think it's down to 1002. I believe that's just me failing at reading Recon because I'm rusty. Over the next 2 days, I'll relearn how to read Recon, and then I'll be perfectly fine. Yes. Recon has left for Aaron. They left about 20 minutes ago. Data's not being given just yet to sites, at least from what I can tell. I don't have any data. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have any data for the Recon, but apparently they left 23 minutes ago. That's when they were scheduled to leave. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive on into some model data before I run out of time here. Approaching the halfway point, and we'll run out of time. We might have to do a longer live stream like I did the other day. Alright, tropical tidbits here. Let's go here, and I'm going to zoom y'all in a pretty good amount there. So, GFS model. We're not going to start with you. We're going to start with the... Actually, we should get a new Euro model. This is the 12Z European AI model one right here. And I point this out. I point this out so you know this is wrong. That's why I'm starting with this model run. This model run has a very weak 1006 millibar low right now. And that, again, that's why I believe, our invest out here is nowhere close to 1,002. But Aaron is currently about, what is it, someone have to tell me again, like 999 millibar, somewhere right around there. So this is already incorrect. And if we pull this out, it doesn't have this getting to a 999 or right around there until, get this, Saturday morning. Saturday morning is when the European model run, the AI European model run, has this being a about 60 mile per hour tropical storm. So that is completely incorrect. And I wanted to point this out because I've seen a lot of circulation about this model run here because of how close it gets to North Carolina. You can see the outer millibars here. That's what we're calling them. The outer millibars of this hurricane end up hitting eastern NC. Now that probably, you probably wouldn't get much more than some light outer band rainfall from that. Main threat would be the high waves and surfs. But this takes it very close to North Carolina. And another thing I haven't looked at is the icon. I heard a lot about the icon last night, and it's 915 millibar Cat 5, just off the coastline of South Carolina, North Carolina. And again, starting off bad here. Here's the icon model run at 1007 millibar low. Already incorrect. Already incorrect. So what that's going to do is that's going to take this way further to the west. The weaker it is, the better chance it has to sneak under that first high pressure. And that is why, let's see how strong this gets. I haven't looked at this. Takes it into the Bahamas as a probably, I'd say, mid-tier, maybe upper-tier Cat 3 here into the northeastern Bahamas. And then it does indeed get it to probably Category 5 strength. And it still ends up bringing probably hurricane force wind speeds to the eastern coastline of the Outer Banks in North Carolina here Thursday morning. And again, I want to reiterate, the reason why it is so far west is because it has this system weak at first. It is, let's see, so we're just past 20Z. This is, unfortunately, I can't do every hour, so this is 18Z on, actually, hold on, let me go back. There you go, 18Z today. About 2.5 hours ago. This is when Aaron was still a 999 millibar low because the NHC updated at 2 p.m. So that says 1006. That's a 7 millibar difference between the icon and the NHC and / its actual intensity for Aaron. That's a huge difference there, and it continues to keep it weak all the way until Saturday morning. Saturday morning is finally when it starts making a run at a Category 1 hurricane on the icon model run. And look how far south it is. That is very, very far south. So it sneaks under our high pressure over here, and it doesn't get impacted by our low over here, and it's still way too far south to even be mentioned to be getting grabbed by our low pressure up in Atlantic Canada near Quebec. And then as this goes up to the northwest, it becomes a major Category 4, Category 5 hurricane on Wednesday into Thursday. So, in my opinion, I would almost disregard the icon and the Euro AI at the moment. I don't think either one of these are an accurate, I can't say the word, and I can't think of it. Not an accurate depiction. There you go. An accurate depiction of what may actually occur. I think it's unrealistic. The GFS model one, I want to take a look at that too. GFS 18Z today. Much closer, actually 2 millibars stronger for the GFS. So this should be a bit more realistic, something we could put a little bit better thought into here. Keeps it pretty far to the south. Category 2 here on Saturday morning. Probably major hurricane Saturday night, Sunday morning. Then it makes a run for Category 4 strength. I don't know exactly if that would be Category 4 strength. That would depend on the wind speeds, but 943 millibar. That could be high in Cat 3 or barely Cat 4 Wednesday morning. And then it takes it in between Bermuda. Bermuda is that little tiny dot right there. And the eastern seaboard of North Carolina there. So much, much further east. I think that's a lot better idea of what could happen here with Aaron. And then it takes it right out to sea, swings it across our trough, and that millibar gets down to 930 right there. So that would be Category 5. However, it would probably be subtropical at that point, which is where instead of it being a warm core, it starts to turn more into a cold core storm, becomes subtropical, and is thus not classified as, a hurricane in terms of the NHC. For instance, our tropical storm up here, had a tropical storm the other week up here. It was forecasted to be a hurricane, and then a day before it actually turned into a hurricane, it became subtropical, and thus the NHC stopped advisories on it, and it didn't get classified as a hurricane because it became cold core. It lost its tropical characteristics. So this is definitely going to be impacting land. I can tell you that it's going to be impacting land, not directly in terms of landfall, but the northern Lesser Antilles, you guys need to prepare for tropical storm force wind speeds. And Bermuda, you should prepare for tropical storm force wind speeds as well. I would be watching both of those areas. I would be starting to get hurricane preparedness plans ready to be put into action. You don't have to put them into action until those tropical storm watches are issued. I don't think you guys will be seeing direct impacts, but again, some outer bands that could have tropical storm force wind speeds. I think the NHC gave it about a 40%, I think it was 40% probability for the northern Lesser Antilles of tropical storm force winds. Wind probabilities of tropical storm force. Yeah, so this is the northern Lesser Antilles, and that looks to be about a 40%, I'm assuming. I think that's about a 40% there. Right around a 40% probability of tropical storm force wind speeds. So if this shifts even the slightest bit further south, you're likely going to see tropical storm force wind speeds there. So I would be preparing if you're on the northernmost islands up here in the northern Lesser Antilles. I'd be preparing for tropical storm force wind speeds. Puerto Rico, not a bad idea to just be like acknowledge the fact that you could have tropical storm force wind speed, so kind of let people know, but you don't have to prepare just yet, because that's only probably about a 20% chance right around there of tropical storm force wind speed, so you probably won't get a tropical storm watch. And then Bermuda, these probabilities are going to go up. Okay, I want to make this very clear. These are day 5 probabilities. So days now till day 5 probabilities for tropical storm force wind speeds. Bermuda, you're not going to be impacted until probably next Wednesday or maybe even Thursday. So we're talking 6-7 days out before Bermuda really gets to the chance of tropical storm force wind speeds. So these probabilities don't go far enough out in time to include Bermuda, but likely Bermuda will have a chance for tropical storm force wind speeds. So I'll be definitely watching Bermuda closely as well. But again, I also want to say nobody's going to be getting a direct landfall out of this. I don't think it's possible for us to see a direct landfall. At least in like the U.S., Bermuda, and the Lesser Antilles, I don't think we're going to be seeing a direct landfall out of this. But we are going to be seeing some big-time surfs across the eastern seaboard here. Beach erosion is possible, so make sure you're staying tuned to your local National Weather Service, especially if you are on the beaches of the U.S. coastline here, all the way from Miami, all the way back up into Maine. Just make sure you are staying very much informed, especially if you are planning a vacation. The worst will definitely be, at least from what I've seen, along the eastern coastline of North Carolina. We'll zoom in a bit here. We'll go to the wave height. And you can see some of these waves here. These are about 15 to 17 foot wave heights. And this is like as far east as Aaron's probably going to go. The GFS has this very, very close to Bermuda. So there's a chance that these waves that are even higher, this red here, this is about 21 to 23 foot waves in this red contour. And then this orange, that's about 13 to 15 foot waves. And then once you get into the yellow, that's closer to about 11 foot waves or so. And, we could see between 11 and 15 foot waves here on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And even all the way down to, I don't think Miami's going to be getting anything out of this. It doesn't look like the waves going to be impacted. Waves are going to be impacting Miami much. But, the eastern northeast coastline of Florida, excluding Miami, because Miami's like somewhere, I forgot, I think Miami's somewhere down here. Your wave heights are 9 to 13 feet. And again, I also want to say this is not like storm surge or a tsunami or something like this, or something like that. It's wave heights. So this is like your maximum wave heights. Your normal waves out in the ocean could be a little bit higher, and thus they could reach a bit further inland, and thus they could cause beach erosion. So we're not talking about storm surge where the entire ocean goes up by like 5 to 10 feet. We're talking about maximum wave heights that are just higher than normal, potentially eroding the beaches here, all the way from southern Florida, all the way up to the northeastern U.S. And if we go to the northeastern U.S., you can see it's going to continue. It's going to continue with these wave heights a lot higher than average. Could even get some waves closer to, what is this, like Long Island, right around Long Island. Could get some wave heights of about 13 feet or so. And again, that could cause some beach erosion. Wind gust, I don't think will be anything crazy. I don't think we're going to be seeing tropical storm force wind speeds anywhere in the United States, the mainland 48. The best chance for that would be the Outer Banks in North Carolina, but right now that's too far out to specify. All right, I want to take a look at the CMC model one here. And right off the bat, I could tell you something's fishy here. I could tell by the way that tracked something was fishy. The CMC, which is the Canadian model run, starts this out as a 1004 millibar low. And we are actually at a 999 millibar low. So this is already incorrect. Now, the weird thing is the Canadian actually has a weaker storm, but it actually shifts further off to the east. So that's really, really good. That would keep it further from North Carolina. But that's a little bit weird because most of the time when it is weaker, it shifts more to the west. So CMC model, I don't think it's accurate. I really don't think it's accurate. We're still going to take a look at it every now and then because it's still, another tool in the toolbox. But I don't think it's the most accurate model one. The model I would almost completely disregard at this point is the Icon model. That thing's crazy. It is wild. The Icon's crazy. So I do want to take a look at some ensembles now. I haven't looked at ensembles today, so we're looking at this together for the first time. I haven't looked at ensembles whatsoever today. We're going to do the 12Z Euro ensembles here. Let's see. All right, well, right off the bat, I can tell you this is more northwest. So whoever in the chat just said everything's shifting east, wrong. Sorry, but the European ensembles actually shifted west overnight. Look at this. 00Z. This is the 00Z. I'm going to turn off this real quick. 00Z, it has the main spread from here to, we'll disregard that one here. 12Z. Very clear west shift. Very clear. Very, very clear. Here to here. Very clear west shift. So it has shifted more to the west today. All these ensembles have shifted more west with the main track. So Bermuda, I mean, we're looking at this probably passing in the sweet spot here. This is the sweet spot between Bermuda and North Carolina. And we're probably the most likely case scenario is dead in the middle, which would still bring impacts to both areas, Eastern NC and Bermuda, but it would leave the worst impacts away from both coastlines. Bermuda would still have a chance for tropical storm force wind speeds with how big this system's probably going to be at that point. Another thing I'm noticing here is there's not as many pink and reds here. So the European ensembles are not as confident in this being a Category 4 as what they were the other day. Yesterday, you could see a lot more reds and pinks on top of and east of Bermuda. Whereas today, I'm seeing a little bit more orange in here. Orange is about Category 2, low in Category 3. Mainly Category 2 in the orange there. So a lot of these ensembles are thinking a bit weaker today, as opposed to what they were showing yesterday. Now, the GFS ensembles, I haven't checked these often whatsoever, so these could be shifting east for all I know. They're all pink and red, except for a very select handful. Most of these are pink and red. So we're going to do the same thing here. This is last night's ensemble runs. A lot larger spread. And then let's see if we got today's. We should have today's runs. Little bit east shift with the GFS ensembles. So That's why the NHC has kept their cone relatively the same, because some models have it being really far west, other models have it being really far east. So the NHC is keeping it dead in the middle, which is obviously the best idea. So um, hopefully we keep seeing that eastern shift. I hope that is the case. Hopefully that is the case. But the bad thing is, if it does shift too far east, it's going to go to Bermuda, so we don't want that either. Like I said, the sweet spot is kind of like right in here, because that would keep the main hurricane force wind speeds off of Bermuda and well off of North Carolina. Still would have a chance for some tropical storm force wind speeds in Bermuda, but even if it's more to the west, that would be better. All right, I'll look at satellite, but I mean, there's nothing new with it. We went over it. Let's see here. Wow, that's what I'm hoping for, Billy. I'd love that. We're hoping it can go in between. It hits the sweet spot, which is in between well east of North Carolina, well northwest of Bermuda. All right, let's do the last 100 frames here. All right, we're going to have to wait for it to come up here. 4 a.m., 5 a.m. There you go. So what am I looking for here? I see really good low pressure. Again, probably not well vertically stacked. You can actually see that with how the lower level winds and mid-level winds are moving. It's not perfectly stacked there. What am I supposed to be looking here for? I mean, I see a perfectly fine mid-tier tropical storm. Like I said, rapid intensification is not imminent because it's not vertically stacked. It has some dry air in it and a little bit of wind shear, but it's a mid-tier tropical storm, which is what it's forecasted to be. Jay, if you're inland in NC, you're fine. The only area I'd really be watching is the Outer Banks, like in this region here. I'd be watching the extreme eastern North Carolina. If you're inland in North Carolina, you're fine. We're going to have a big cold front. There's a cold front that's going to set up across like this area here. So it's impossible for it to go directly inland. It's impossible for it to go completely inland into North Carolina, Virginia, or anywhere along the eastern U.S. because we'll have a cold front. Maybe you were wanting me to see the direction it's moving. It looks to me like it's moving northwest, like this. That's what it looks like to me. And that's not a shocker. If we go to the NHC, we go to the projected track. It's really following exactly where the NHC is thinking right now. It's following exactly where the NHC is predicting. So, let me also, I want to show you something a bit weird. I don't normally show this, but I want to show it just to give you an idea. Let's see, is it going to allow me to? Actually, I might not be able to show it. We're going to go to Weather Nerds, and we're going to do the GFS on Weather Nerds real quick. Because I want to see if I can show you guys simulated satellite, which is not something you want to use on the GFS at all. But I have a reason. I have a reason here. All right, that is my reason. This thing is not going to be this tiny little tropical storm that you see here. This thing is going to be growing in size. It's not going to stay a tiny little tropical storm forever. So your wind speeds, your tropical storm force wind speeds right now, they don't extend far from the center at all. But by the time this thing becomes Category 3, Category 4 hurricane, those tropical storm force wind speeds are going to be ridiculously larger. And that's why I'm thinking, even if this does go in between the sweet spot, in between Bermuda and North Carolina, Bermuda will still have a chance at seeing tropical storm force wind speeds from the outer bands of Erin sometime Wednesday or Thursday. And also, the size of this is going to cause those greater waves as well. So it's not going to stay this tiny little tropical storm forever. And I do want to back this up all the way here. Keep going back. And again, for the Lesser Antilles, far northern Lesser Antilles, the British Islands here, you guys want to be watching for tropical storm force wind speeds too, because you're likely going to be very close to, if not in the outer bands of Erin. When it's likely a Category 2. At this point, it should be Category 2, almost Category 3 hurricane. This is for Saturday night into Sunday morning. But I just wanted to show this only for the example of saying this thing's going to be growing. It's not going to stay small forever. It's going to continue to grow. You shouldn't take this exact infrared satellite imagery seriously, because it's not going to happen exactly how the GFS is saying. I can guarantee that. I can guarantee that. Looks like we got the new NHC update here. 60 mile per hour winds and 998 millibar. All right. I mean, no big surprise there. I was wondering if they were going to go 5 miles per hour higher or not. It seems like they've opted not to. Yep. So the advisory just came out. We don't have the cone just yet. Once we do, I will show y'all. I don't expect it to change much. I don't think they'll be changing much with the cone. But not much intensification on the newest NHC update, which is no shocker. If we go ahead and put this on real quick. So you can see the 8 o'clock update is when we're expecting this to go to 65 mile per hour winds. But if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly appreciated. Help get the word out about this tropical storm and eventual hurricane. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all. We'll be live quite frequently talking about this system. At least every other day. Tomorrow, I'm 50-50 on a live stream. If there's big changes, I will definitely go live. If not, I'll be live Saturday. We're not ending yet. I'm still staying live because we want to see the complete advisory, and I want to see if we can get some of the information from Recon too. All right, Recon. We finally have a Recon map. Let's see where Recon is. There they are. There's Recon. So they're going to be entering from the southwest side of the system. They're expected to get there in about 45 minutes. Yeah, see, Ben, that's another thing. A lot of people think that, like, just if you get a landfalling hurricane, that's when you get impacts. But when you have a system that spreads, I don't know how large this thing's going to be, but probably some 150 miles, I'd imagine, maybe even larger than that. In the middle of the Atlantic, in between Bermuda and North Carolina. That thing's huge. That thing's turning the whole ocean. Like, that is a ginormous system, and so it spins very, very rapidly, and it throws waves. It's not like it's a little tiny tropical storm. I mean, the thing is so... It gets so large and so strong at some point, mainly Category 3 plus hurricanes, that it literally cools down the entire ocean that it tracks over, where the eye tracks over. Right now, I bet your sea surface temperatures are barely being affected. But once this thing becomes a Category 3 hurricane, we're going to see a big dent in those sea surface temperatures. You're going to see it drop from 30 Celsius to probably 25 Celsius. So those impacts can expand well away from the storm system itself, mainly in the form of rip currents and beach erosion. So you don't want to be too focused on exactly where the center of the system's going. In the NHC they reiterate that so often. So often the NHC reiterates that impacts can and often will be felt outside of the cone of uncertainty. Which, speaking of the NHC, I also want to show you guys a quick map that they made. Let's see if the cone is in yet. Cone is still not in on my end. I want to show you guys the rainfall map here. Look at this. So this is out here for Puerto Rico and the northern Lesser Antilles, the British Islands as well. And you can see they've highlighted isolated rainfall totals up to 6 inches. Gracious day. Up to 6 inches of rainfall out here in Puerto Rico. And the eye is expected to track up here, according to the NHC, somewhere generally around this blue line. Now, that blue line is definitely not straight, but just generally around that blue line is where the eye is expected to track. And they have isolated rainfall totals up to a half of a foot of rainfall out here in Puerto Rico. And again, the eye is going to be so far north of the island. Hopefully. We're hoping it will be very far north of the island. So once it gets to that point, the cone is going to be very small once this gets north of Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is going to be getting impacts. So you can't focus completely on where that cone is, because it doesn't represent the size of the system at any given point. I do want to also check and see if this is in yet. All right, there's their new cone. Do you see what I see? Because I see something. I see something. I see some yellow on this. I see some yellow. I see some tropical storm watches that have been issued. Look at that. Tropical storm watches just got put out for the northern Lesser Antilles. So there you go. Fish storm. Fish storm though, right? Right? I've seen people in chat consistently say fish storm. If it is, then what are these tropical storm watches doing up right now? And look at that. Again, hey, this is a really good example. The cone is north of those tropical storm watches, and y'all just got put inside tropical storm watches, and you're well removed from that cone of uncertainty. Now, I do want to look at the, let's see, forecast advisory. Let's see here. 50. Okay. Public advisory. I apologize. I'm not going to be reading all this. If you want to read it, you can go to the NHC public advisory. That's what I was looking for. Is this the new update? Just double check. 5 p.m. Eastern. Sure is. They're still forecasting a 125 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane. So still forecasting a upper echelon Cat 3. And 12 hours, they have actually, this is overnight. Overnight, they no longer have it being a hurricane overnight tonight. It is going to be tomorrow afternoon they have this being a hurricane. So they have downgraded the time it takes for this to become a hurricane. They believe it's going to be a little bit longer, which is probably because we have some wind shear interrupting the storm, a bit of dry air, but it is still forecasted to be a hurricane tomorrow, just a little later, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 18Z, forecasted to become a hurricane. And then Category 2, probably sometime in about 40 or so hours, Category 2. And then Category 3 in 3 days. And then borderline Category 4 in 5 days. Inland Virginia Beach will be all right, but if you are on, if you have any beach plans, you want to be paying very close attention to your local National Weather Service, because there's a chance we get some big waves in Virginia Beach, and beach erosion is possible as well. So just stay tuned to your local National Weather Service. But a direct impact for Virginia Beach is unlikely. It's mainly the very coastal, very, very coastal, like we're talking on the beach, that we want to keep an eye on for larger waves, rip currents, and beach erosion. All right, let's go here. I want to go back to the NHC again. And I want to go to the archive graphic. And we are going to double check again. Ooh, don't skip that one. Okay, 5 days with line. We're going to see if we had any big change here. If anything, they actually shifted this further from the Bahamas, so that's really good. Yeah, so they're definitely keeping this right in here. If you follow where the rest of that cone's going to go. They're going to keep it east of North Carolina for the time being, unless we get some bigger shifts. They're expecting this to stay a little bit east of NC and a little west of Bermuda. If you just follow the trajectory of that cone and where they're turning it to. So we'll need to keep watching that to see how much that turns, but I imagine they're going to keep turning that further and further north. I don't expect that to go too much west at all. Curious to see how far west that cone might get to North Carolina, but I doubt it's going to be included into NC. But there's still plenty of time for this to change. There is still plenty of time for this to change. We can see some big shifts occur with our low pressure up in Canada. And if that does happen, that could influence how fast this thing turns north. If it goes a bit further south, then this could get closer to the Bahamas and North Carolina. If it's a bit weaker, it has a better chance to sneak under that high pressure. So there's still a lot of variables here that could occur that makes this shift further west or further to the east. But personally, I don't think this is going to be making a landfall on Bermuda, and I don't think it's going to be going east of Bermuda. I'm quite confident it is going to stay west of Bermuda and east of North Carolina. How close it gets to North Carolina or how close it gets to Bermuda, only time will tell. But again, I want to reiterate that even if this does go in between Bermuda and North Carolina, like it's likely to do, we're still going to have impacts on the beaches along most of the eastern U.S. coastline. But there's still some uncertainties on exactly where it's going to track. See if we have anything new over here. Let's see. Yeah, but another thing is the Gulf system too, because I know we have a lot of other people here who are now tuned in, who may have not seen this. We have a 40% chance of a tropical storm developing out here in the Western Gulf. This really came out of absolutely nowhere. It formed in the southwestern Caribbean. It was expected to go over Mexico, but it decided to go over the Yucatan Peninsula and then enter the Gulf, the Western Gulf here. And the Gulf is very, very favorable. There's not a lot of wind shear that's going to be impacting this system. But the good news is it has a very short window to develop. The main question with this system is how long does it have? Some models indicate that it is going to be a little bit more northwest trajectory like this and impact more of Mexico, far southern Texas, which would put landfall right around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern time. Some models actually show it going more to the north as opposed to northwest and making landfall closer to Corpus Christi and making landfall closer to 5 o'clock, maybe even 6 o'clock Eastern time. That's a big difference. In that case, we could be looking anywhere from an extra 6 to an extra 18 hours over the open water. And that could definitely be the difference between a very weak tropical depression or a very weak tropical storm. So this does have a chance to form into a tropical storm and impact portions of Texas going into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Regardless of if it becomes a tropical storm or a weak tropical depression, we're going to be seeing localized flash flooding upwards of 5 to 6 inches of rainfall. Isolated significant flash flooding will be possible, mainly from about Corpus Christi down to the Mexico-Texas border. But if it does shift a little bit further north, that could shift those impacts way more into Corpus Christi. So we're watching that very closely. Tomorrow's Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a morning stream. I don't know about a live stream at all tomorrow. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes. But just make sure you're paying attention to this if you're anywhere from the Texas-Mexico border all the way back up to, really like all the way back up to like near Bay City. It doesn't hurt to be watching this all the way from about Bay City down through here. Just to keep an eye on it just in case. Bit of a surprise right there. Bit of a surprise. Recon is currently in that storm. Then obviously with Tropical Storm Aaron, Recon is actively heading there. To take a look at Recon real quick. Here is Recon's current location. Wait for it to load. There you go. Actually, about 10 minutes ago, Recon's location was right in here. So they're moving up to the northeast, and they are going to enter the southwest to the west side of Aaron. So we're waiting for Recon to get there. They're expected to get there in about 30 minutes or so. So right by the ocean, if you're talking Texas there, Brady. I'm not 100% sure where that's located, but if this does become a tropical storm, we could see 1 to 3 foot storm surge. Nothing greater than 3 feet. Nothing greater than 3 feet is possible with this. Worst case scenario is a low wind tropical storm, so worst case scenario storm surge is 1 to 3 feet. North of Brownsville. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so it depends where it makes landfall. So storm surge is typically the worst on the east side to the southeast side of the system. So if it makes landfall like here, get rid of my timer real quick. If it makes landfall, say, right in here, the worst storm surge is going to be along this area right in here. That's where your worst storm surge would be. It would be from just barely south of the low to pretty well north of the low. So it depends on where it makes landfall, but you should have a chance if you are on the coastline, if you're on the beaches, there's a chance for 1 to 3 foot storm surge if this becomes a tropical storm. If it becomes a tropical storm. If it doesn't, then storm surge is going to be a foot max. We just don't know how strong this is going to get and exactly where it's going to go. We're getting hurricane models on it, but it's very difficult it's very difficult because this came out of nowhere. It came out of absolutely nowhere. So models haven't started getting a good hold on it until literally today. And you can see the GFS model run still doesn't likely have a good hold on it. It has it making landfall probably, let me change this real quick. Probably right around here it has it making landfall. Somewhere in this area. And a very weak system. So still models don't have a good hold on this. And I don't think they will until tonight's 0Z runs. Hopefully our hurricane models get a good hold on it tonight. We likely won't have good information on this until close to about 11 p.m. midnight Eastern. Yep, it was a 10% yesterday morning. It's a 40% earlier this afternoon. It got upgraded 2 p.m. All right, let's go here, here. I'm going to change to this, and boom. So that is Aaron right now. And man, is that ever an impressive plume of convection. Look at that. That is really good. That is really, really good. The main thing that is stopping this from becoming a hurricane sooner is the fact it's not vertically stacked. If it was vertically stacked, this thing would probably be a hurricane tonight. It would probably be a hurricane tonight at 11 o'clock or so. But it's not. It's not vertically stacked. That means the system in the lower levels and the mid levels, they're misaligned. The low pressure is misaligned from the lower level to the mid-level. And we'll be able to confirm that once this gets into Aaron. We'll be able to confirm that. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I just had to check something real quick. It is going northwest right now. The movement is northwest. I don't know if that's the new NHC advisory, so I'm not going to pull that up because I don't want to give you old information. But here is the new NHC advisory. Just came out. And you can see that is where Aaron's currently located, and the movement is still off to the northwest. Movement is off to the northwest. So if it was going due west, we'd be in trouble. But it is moving more to the northwest. Yeah, you could see that's the center's location there. They do have the movement. They do have it at west, most likely because this is barely more west than northwest at this moment. It's not moving due northwest. Due northwest would be if it's moving like this. That would be due northwest. So it's not due west, and it's not due northwest. Right in the middle. It's right in the middle between west and northwest. But the NHC does say it's moving more west than northwest at the moment. I mean, you can clearly see. Let me switch back over here. You can clearly see the movement is northwest. It's not that difficult to tell. It's just not sharp enough northwest to where the NHC says it's northwest. Like, you can clearly tell this is moving northwest in this loop. Very clearly, trajectory is northwest. I'm a little surprised they still put it as west. Let me see if I can find the degree that it's moving. Is that in the public advisory, possibly? See if we can see the degree of its movement. 280 degrees west. Let's see here. I'm going to look it up. 315 is considered northwest. So it is still, what, about 35 degrees? 35 degrees off from moving complete northwest. Yeah, so it is moving more west than northwest, according to the NHC. It is indeed moving more west than northwest, so yes, you're right. Hi there, you're right. You said, so it's moving west, yeah. It is moving more west than northwest at the moment. I'm honestly a bit surprised with that. I'm honestly a bit surprised with that. I thought it was moving a lot more northwest. All right, let's move this back over here. So that's current look there at Aaron. Like I said, pretty strong plume of convection there. I don't know exactly what degree cloud tops those are. I don't know if I have a way to tell. I might be able to tell from tropical tidbits. Looks like they're around negative 80, right around negative 80 Celsius. So very tall, very cold cloud tops. Negative 87. At their coldest, maybe. Yeah, see, this isn't going to tell me. Yeah, I know they're at least negative 80. All right, let's see if we got a new update on our Recon here. 10 minutes ago was apparently the last update, according to Radar Omega. Which the last update was... Yep, 10 minutes ago. I forgot how often they update. But they're still a good ways away. Minimum 20 minutes. So Recon's very, very important here because it's going to give us an idea of how vertically stacked Aaron is. And whatever data Recon finds will be implemented into our 00Z hurricane models. So huge update will be released from the NHC at 11 o'clock tonight. Because this is our first Recon to get into Aaron. So should be a lot better data at 00Z. But I bet the icon model is still going to show like a Cat 5 near NC. Like I said, I'm really just disregarding the icon model at this point. Hello, Sydney. Welcome to the stream. Severe thunderstorm warning out here in Southern Virginia. Got to see what I'm missing. Okay, I'm not missing out on much. I'm not a big fan of chasing these more summertime-like thunderstorms. They die out in seconds and are very unpredictable. I'm honestly a bit surprised with how well this convection is. Like how strong and pretty well organized it looks. This thing would be a lot stronger if it was more vertically stacked, but that's just not the case. Let's see. I think that Recon just got an update, yeah. There's your new position of Recon. A little hard to see. Let me circle it in pink right there. That's where Recon is. I agree. I think it will be, I think low in Cat 4 is the max this thing can get. The only way it gets stronger is if it goes more south. If it gets very close to the Bahamas, it can get a lot stronger. But if it doesn't get very close to the Bahamas, I say Cat 4 max. Like what the NHC is predicting here. If it does follow the NHC's track, their exact projected track, Cat 4 max. But if it goes towards like down in here, yeah, I think it could get closer to mid to upper tier Cat 4. If it can tap into down in this area where the wind shear is pretty much none and the waters are just as warm. But again, it would have to follow a very far southern track to do that. And that just comes down to when it turns and how strong it is as it's turning. Do we have 18Z Hurricane models? I have zero clue when those things load in. Okay, we don't right now. But I'm going to show you an example of that case. We're going to go to one of the best Hurricane models, in my opinion. The HAFSB. Which it currently has this at 1,002 millibars, so it is weaker. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to choose whichever one has it closest to correct. The H-Warf is 999, which is, I think that's spot on. Yeah, that's spot on because of the 2 o'clock advisory. So we're going to look at the H-Warf 12Z together and see what this does. This is the closest thing to what Aaron's currently at. It actually has it weakening millibar-wise a little bit, but the winds do increase into early tomorrow morning, very late tonight. And it does have an upper echelon tropical storm, maybe a borderline hurricane tomorrow evening. I really don't think a 992 would be considered a hurricane, but maybe a borderline hurricane at that point, considering a 998 is an upper echelon or mid-tier tropical storm, rather. So either at this point it would be a high-end tropical storm or low-end hurricane. And then Saturday, definitely a hurricane Saturday morning. Category 2, probably Saturday night. Category 3, Sunday afternoon. And notice it does keep this pretty far south. Definitely pretty far south here. Maybe on the southern end of the NHC cone. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then I'm curious how close it gets to the Bahamas. Category 4, probably this would most likely be Category 4 here, Monday night. 9:40 Category 4. And it does get pretty close to the Bahamas. Very, very close. Possibly could see some tropical storm force impacts if that were to be the case. Very, very outer bands. And you know what I'm noticing here? This thing is taking its sweet time to turn. Like, that is taking its sweet time to turn, man. That would definitely put the track more like this. That's probably going to take it a lot closer to North Carolina as opposed to Bermuda. Unfortunately, that's as far as we can go, but I do want to take a look at this using Radar Omega. The H-Warf 12Z for Aaron, and I want to use the 10-meter wind speeds. So there you go. Most likely a hurricane there by the morning of the 16th. Category 2 in the late evening on the 16th. And then going into the 17th. I'm going to get a date on that real quick so that way I can say it. So yeah, late Sunday. Actually, Sunday afternoon, Category 3. And then Category 4 sometime either Sunday night or Monday. And yeah, you can see this would be a lot closer call for not only the Lesser Antilles, but also Turks and Caicos, as well as North Carolina. This would be a lot closer to the eastern seaboard. What in the water spout? Water spout reported off of Myrtle Beach. 4:42 Eastern. I just got that in the corner of my eye up there in South Carolina. So, yeah, that's on the southwest side of the cone. Still well inside of the cone, so good on the NHC there. But definitely well southwest. You know, your turn would be a lot more... Your turn would be like this. A lot more gradual of a turn. And then it would head up towards probably... Still a couple 100 to 200 miles east of NC. It definitely wouldn't be a landfall. Yeah, it would probably still be 200 miles off the coastline of North Carolina at that point. And I think that's about as far west as it goes. If it gets closer than 150 miles to NC, I would be very, very shocked. I don't think the center is going to get any closer than 200 miles. I mean, it's not impossible. I just don't find it anywhere close to a reasonable scenario. All right, let's see how many tabs I have open here. Make sure my computer ain't going to explode on me. I have 2 tropical tidbits open. Let's see. What else can I look at here? I want to look back at the ensembles. I do want to look back at the ensembles here. I want to see how many have it making landfall in North Carolina. Which I imagine is going to be like 1 on both the Euro and the GFS ensembles. GFS ensembles, and pull it over here. All right, let's go out about 210 hours here. 1. Yep. 1 on the GFS ensembles. And 1 on the Euro. So that's like the utmost least likely case scenario. Most of them keep it a minimum of 150 miles east. I figured it was only about 1 each. All right, let's go at 180 hours here. So this is your GFS ensembles. I do want to zoom in a bit more. I actually want to zoom back out and zoom in over here. Yeah, some of these do take it close to Turks and Caicos. Very, very close. The average here is definitely more in line with the NHC still. But you could see, like, these are definitely these 5 to 7 ensembles, somewhere around there. A good handful of ensembles definitely are still there with, like, what the H-Warf is saying. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think we're going to see it that far east. I believe we're going to go somewhere in between here and here. And then impacts a direct landfall in the Bahamas. That's near impossible. Very close to near impossible. A very, very low possibility. I don't even know how that would happen. Hold on, I want to zoom back out. I want to see what ensembles even make that happen. How does that even happen? Get back to the North Atlantic here, and I want to zoom in towards those. Yeah, they have it being a tropical storm. These ensembles have it being a tropical storm until north of Turks and Caicos. That's how it happens. It literally doesn't become a hurricane until north of Turks and Caicos. And then it rapidly intensifies into Cat 3 between here and here on this ensemble. So I don't think that's going to happen at all. That's like nearly impossible. Albert, explain how I'm hyping instead of spamming my chat. Explain it. If you just keep spamming, I'm going to time you out. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, Ben beat me. We are getting the 18Z icon here. Yeah, we're getting the 18Z icon. I guarantee this thing is going to be so close to the Bahamas. Let's look at this. Icon. We're going to go to here. This is like, in my opinion, this is one of the worst model runs. So we're looking at this more of just for fun because I don't think this is correct. I mean, man, look at that. That takes it just a couple miles north of Puerto Rico. Barely north of Puerto Rico. And impacting, is that the Dominican Republic or Haiti? Okay, that's the Dominican Republic. Also hitting the north side of the Dominican Republic there. And the north side of Haiti. And almost a landfall on the Turks and Caicos. Look at that. Like, literally, the Eyewall. I believe this has, like, the Eyewall scraping the Turks and Caicos there. And then the outer bands definitely hit the Bahamas. Yeah, and then it turns it into a Cat 5. Why is this model run so terrible? Why is it so terrible? How did it shift more west? What in the world? Look at that. How in the world did it shift even more? What is... Hold on. Get me out here and get me to the 7. Please. Aw, okay, you know what? 500 will be perfectly fine. That's the jet stream. Oh. Well, that will do it. Why does it have the high pressure there? So it has a high pressure lasting a lot longer. It definitely has it lasting a lot longer to its north. And look at that. It gets a high pressure to develop right here. So the first bit of this run, you have a high pressure back out over here, over like Texas, and it extends some of its turning features all the way back out into the Atlantic. You can see it here, how these winds are going westerly. These winds are going to the east here. So you have a bit of a block right in there. So that's why it's not turning west, because it's, or rather not turning north, because it's blocked. And then on Monday night into Tuesday, it has a high pressure forming here, and that's what starts to steer it like this. Whereas if we go to a more realistic scenario like the Euro 12Z, what's up? Euro 12Z's in, y'all. Didn't even know that. Let's see what that has. So it still has that westerly winds and easterly winds blocking it pretty good. But I'm curious to see what happens with the high pressure. That's what turns it. Okay, your high pressure builds in Monday morning a lot quicker, a lot sooner. So this should turn it a lot closer to Bermuda than North Carolina. Hello? Okay. It actually put it right in the middle. It wasn't turning there for a second. So that's actually still pretty close to North Carolina. Definitely a bit more on the west side of things. But not nearly as far west as the Icon. Yeah, you could see that high pressure is so much more. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the time here. Get rid of that. Put this here. Center high pressure here on the Icon. And if we take a look at the new Euro, look how much further east that is. That is a big difference, y'all. That is a big difference on your high pressure placement. I'd say a solid 50 to 100 miles between those two. And that's the difference between the Icon model run taking this very close, if not over, the eastern Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, and the European model run keeping it north of those areas. And I really think this is the only model run. The Icon model run is really the only model that does that. The CMC is, I don't like the CMC as much, but it's still more on track with our other models. All right, well, I'll just time you out real quick since you decide to spam. Bye. You don't seem like a robot, so I'm only going to do 5 minutes. We do have a tornado warning right now, as you can see. Actually, you can't see because I don't have it up. But there is indeed a tornado warning right now, and it is on the ground. So, yep. We have a waterspout moving onshore. So this is in Ocean Isle Beach, which I've been there. Actually went very, very close to this area for a tropical storm. So there's a waterspout moving onshore going into Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. So make sure you are seeking shelter if you're in that tornado warning. A pretty, very populated coastal area. Yeah, there's almost 5,000 people in that tiny little tornado warning. So, yeah, that's moving onshore. Classic supercell. But that is coming from the water, which is obviously a water spout. That is the one that was spotted east of Myrtle Beach. So that's why it's considered observed. I guess another person has probably seen it. Yeah, public has confirmed a waterspout offshore that may move onshore. Yeah, but to the person who was spamming, how can you not tell the icon is a west biased? If you have been in this live stream like at all, you would have heard me reiterate countless amount of times. The icon model run, I believe, is one of the worst model runs. The icon model run, I'm disregarding. I don't like the icon model run. I don't think it's a possibility. If you've been in this live stream more than 10 minutes, you would have heard all that from me. We're looking at it just to see how it's turning it further west. I was curious on why the icon model run has it so far west, and the main reason is the high pressure is further to the west. The high pressure is over here on the icon as opposed to most model runs where it's closer to like here. So yeah, I can tell the icon model run has a west bias. I pointed that out 48 hours ago. In my other live stream too. I think the model run that's holding this the best and really grasping this scenario is probably the Euro model run. I think that's the most likely case scenario right now. It might be a little bit more west than what most ensembles and model runs show, but I think the 12Z Euro is handling this pretty well. It does deliver if we go here. Barely can't see it. Dang it. It does deliver likely tropical storm force impacts just to the north of Turks and Caicos. You might see some tropical storm impacts there, but it looks like it probably stays a little bit north of the Turks and Caicos. And then the outer bands, you could see probably outer bands would end up hitting Puerto Rico and the northern Leeward Islands there, going into Saturday night, Sunday morning. Let's see Recon. I'm sure they haven't. They should be getting close, though. Yeah, they're entering the southwest side, so they're really right on time. Let me see when this was last updated, because if it was updated like 10 minutes ago. It was updated 10 minutes ago. Literally 10 minutes ago. Wow. Yeah, so they're in the storm now, because when this updates here in the next 3 minutes or so, it's going to show them inside the storm. So they're in the southwest corner now. There you go. It just updated. They're in the southwest corner now. There you go. They're in the southwest quadrant of Erin. That's where they are, and they're going to be moving right into the southwest side. So the icon model run is a huge outlier at the moment. No other model run shows that. I don't think there's a single model run that gets even close to that. Even our ensembles, like only 1 or 2 of our ensembles show it being that far west. Let's see here. Taking a look at the intensity guidance here. If I can find it. I really think the strongest this thing gets to is a low end Cat 4. Unless it can hug closer to the Bahamas. So we're going to wait for these Hurricane Hunters to go in, at least complete one pass. And see what they're showing with the center. What they find with the center. Yeah, those trolls, just ban them, get rid of them. And I already know it's like literally a 13-year-old with no life who sits on his iPad and screams in my chat. I've already documented some of his comments, so if it gets bad... Law enforcement! There's police here for a reason! Right now, he hasn't acted on any credible threats or anything like that, so... We'll wait and see. I've documented his comments, and... we're good, so... 13-year-old that stole his mom's phone, yep. Right there, Sam. But he's been consistently harassing this channel for over a year now. Has some dedication. What do you mean we have pink now, Sam? If you mean the cloud tops here, yeah, we've had pink for a little while. I hope you ain't meaning on the hurricane hunters. That would be insane. Yeah, the good news is we are going to get a pressure reading and a flight level wind reading, so this is definitely going to be a lot easier for me to read for Recon. Yeah, this Recon pass is going to be everything. It is going to be everything. This Recon right here is very, very important. And of course, they're going to stay in this system until just before 10 o'clock Eastern. So they'll get all the data done before the 11 o'clock update, and they'll get it all implemented, and then the NHC will release their update, and then we'll have our 0Z model runs rendering in. So a lot of stuff will update after 10 Eastern once this Recon's fully done with all the new information. Not in there. There we go. Cloud tops approaching -90? Yo. Nah, you're right. Yeah. That's what Sam was talking about. There's a little pixel here. Let me see if I can get a higher definition satellite here. Yeah, the southwest quadrant. There's darker pink pixels right here. Those guys. That is like probably, I'd say probably 87 to almost 90. Negative 87 to almost 90. I don't know the exact number, but that's just guessing it off of this chart because darker pink. Let's see. So this is about 85, like right in here. So yeah, you're looking at about 87 to -90 for these darker pinks here. Very, very cool cloud tops, which means very, very intense. And if we go to water vapor, we can't do it on here. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to here and we're going to go to mid-level water vapor. You can still see there's some dry air in the mid-levels up in here, but it's not affecting the core. It's not in the core whatsoever. We still have a huge area of convection and the low pressure is in the middle of that. So if it is vertically stacked, we might be able to see a hurricane tomorrow morning, even though the NHC pushed it to 2 o'clock tomorrow. We could see one at 8 a.m. tomorrow. If it's vertically stacked, it wouldn't surprise me. We'll have to see what Recon finds here. I'm really, really intrigued to see what they can find. That's your lower level water vapor, your mid-level, and your upper level. And of course, it's more moist in the upper level. It's really the lower and mid-level where you have dry air, but both of those levels, the dry air is not making it into the main system. You can see we're going to get some big-time dry air down here, but with how large the system's going to be getting, the convection from the outer bands here should be able to hit that dry air before it ends up infiltrating the main center. So I'm thinking I wouldn't rule out a hurricane tomorrow at 8 a.m. I wouldn't. That's a good, almost 14 hours? 14 hours and 22 minutes of time. So, I mean, it's got time. Recon updates about every 10 minutes or so. So with the next update, that should put them somewhere in like here or so. So they're not going to get into the center for another 30 minutes, most likely. 6:10 Eastern. I mean, our center's not very well exposed by any means. It really looks, it looks healthy. If it is vertically stacked, it definitely could be a hurricane tomorrow morning. Yeah, the outflow on it's really good too. That's also in help to the wind shear. Icon's wrong. What do you mean to say it's right? It ain't. It's been ridiculous with a west biased. Until other models start trending that way, which I don't think they ever will, I'm saying that thing's wrong. I mean, it's technically possible because a model output it and it's a reasonable output with the high pressure being a little bit further west and thus it pushes the system west, but I just find it very unlikely. They have extended the observed tornado warning, new observed tornado warning for now almost 15,000 people under an observed tornado warning as a water spout is moving on land. So this is very, very populated areas here. 15,000 people inside these, both of these. There's 5,000 in this one, about 5,000 in this one, and then about 10,000 in this one. So together it's about 15,000 people inside these observed tornado warnings for the coastline of North Carolina. All the way from Ocean Isle all the way to Holden Beach. And this is your water spout moving on shore. So right in here. So right there, moving northeast. Yeah, shockingly good mini supercell. Okay. Let's go back over here again. Just wanted to mention that. Make sure you're in your safe spot if you're out there in those tornado warnings. I always love watching these loops, especially this is high definition. This is our G19 mesoscale sector 1. Obviously the eastern one because this is out in the Atlantic. So there's your new update for Recon. They did turn a little bit more to the west. They did turn a little bit more west on that in the last 10 minutes. Always love like the kind of shockwave effect it looks like with the infrared satellite. Oh man, I don't know, Ben. I love both of them. Visible and infrared are both awesome. I love both of them. That's too difficult for me to choose. It really is. I'd say I love them both equally. Ooh, I got a tree down report in my city here. I'm glad I didn't go chasing because it's very close to the highway. What knocked down that? I bet it was a light rain shower. I'm telling you, light rain shower comes through, knocks down trees. It's just how it is here in Virginia, man. Let's see. What model or feature is used to see lightning inside the storm? Like the satellite imagery? I mean, you just have lightning data. GLM. I mean, you have this stuff here. I have it on, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of lightning. So there's your Recon going in. They're starting to head to the northeast. According to the NHC, the low pressure is located right about in here right now. It's going to be just the tiniest bit more to the west than what that tropical storm logo is. So They're going to find exactly where this low pressure is. They'll report everything they find to the NHC. They'll continue to do that all the way until they leave the storm about 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And the 0Z model runs will be rendering in with this recon data. And then at 11 o'clock, the NHC will update their advisory. All that is in Eastern. Got to send this to Lucky. We got a video of the water spout off the coastline of the Carolinas right now. Off the coastline of South Carolina, we have a video of it there, and then coastline of North Carolina, we also have one. Fit check. Red and red. Always wear shorts when I stream because I end up always getting hot due to my computer. I forgot I had the infrared satellite up over here too. I just love that shockwave effect. It's always fascinated me. You can't see it as well on visible, but I still love visible satellite just as much. I am curious to see how much that dry air affects the southwest side of the system overnight tonight. Because you can see even on this loop, you can see right in here, this what? I almost said confetti. This convection dissipating. This convection dissipating. Yeah, confetti dissipating right here. Confetti. Confetti is dissipating, y'all. Nah, convection. Man. But yeah, again, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. We're trying to get to 100 likes. There's about 170 people watching. We're at 75 likes. Also consider sharing this stream with your family, friends, social media, anyone who's interested in the weather. We cover everything from snowstorms to hurricanes to tsunamis. We did a tsunami coverage the other week. First one on this channel. Report confetti has been reported in the middle of the Atlantic. Nope. Convection. Don't get any ideas there, Sam. Don't be like the movie Twisters. Shooting fireworks up into tornadoes. Fireworks and tornadoes and confetti and hurricanes. Insane. Great. Thank you for the $2 donation, Charles. Appreciate that. Yeah, the tsunami coverage was awesome. I enjoyed that coverage. I'm surprised I was able to stay live for so long during that. But I'm really glad I went live for that. I was very 50-50 on it until I realized there was like... it was very difficult to get information from one person. I tried to watch it on TV and they kept switching between flooding and severe weather and tornadoes and tsunami and the tropics too. And it was very difficult to find just tsunami coverage. So that's why I went live. How about this? Let's play. All right, guessing game, y'all. Ready? You got to get involved. If you can chat, you got to get involved. What millibar do you think the lowest millibar will be from this first pass and the first pass only of Hurricane Hunters here? Only the first pass, which they'll be in about 20 minutes. What do you think will be the lowest millibar? And also to add on to that, it will be MSLP. So it will be recorded from the Recon, and I'll be using tropical tidbits to figure it out. Tropical tidbits and radar omegas. So we'll be using this little chart right here on Tropical Tidbits. Also, to give you an estimate, the NHC just 50 minutes ago put this at 998. I'm seeing a lot of 997s and 994s. 997, 994, 995, 997, 997. 995, 981. Lord have mercy, that's crazy. 145. Okay, Caleb, come on, bud. I think the absolute lowest this thing is 990. That's the lowest I see it being. Realistic, I'm gonna go with 996. I'm gonna go with what Justin said. I agree with Justin. 996. 799. 993. It's on the lower end, but it's, you know, it's possible. It is possible. Especially with that huge amount of convection we have and the almost negative 90 Celsius cloud tops. 996.1. 993. 1000. 1000 would be at weakening. I don't think it is weakened, but I mean, you never know. It's not impossible. It's just with the convection we're seeing, I find it unlikely. Text message. See if it's anybody important. Nope, it is not. Highest wind 70 miles per hour. Ooh, that's... I don't know about that. I think that would be crazy if they get 70, right? Because it's 60 right now still. Yeah, 70. I think that is the absolute highest. I don't think they're gonna find wind speeds, flight level wind speeds over. Oh man, what do I go with? I'm gonna go with 57 knots, like max. Yeah, I'll go with 50. I think 57 knots is probably gonna be like the high end they find. I do want to get... Why is my phone still on? Turn off, bro. I want to get GR2 out real quick. Go check this tornado warning. Here we go. It weakened right as it got on land, which is very, very typical. Oh, I see what you mistook for a CC there, Sam. I see. So it was all this CC, and then you were probably on, like, this scan. I see. 883 truck. Oh, man. Yeah, nah. No, it ain't getting that low. It won't get that low in its entire lifetime. Ain't no way. $10.50? I don't even think that's possible. For a hurricane, that is actually impossible because that's a high pressure. But I don't even know if a high pressure can get that high. Let's see. Well, 1083. 1083 in Siberia was recorded. But that definitely is not from no tropical storm. That's just the highest pressure recorded. Lucky's texting me about that tornado. Dude's freaking out that he missed the tornado. I'm not surprised, though. Whenever we get a classic-looking supercell in North Carolina, it's probably from a water spout. Either that or it's a tropical system. Yeah, but likely that's not on the ground anymore. Still stay in your safe spot, but I imagine they're going to let... That one expires in 6 minutes, and then the next one's probably... They'll probably cancel that early. All right, let's go back to satellite imagery. Take a look at infrared satellite again. See when the last... I think that's a new update. They're into the outer edge. This was 5 minutes ago, and yes, they already have on that outer pass 32-mile-an-hour winds on that outer pass at the moment, which is below tropical storm force, but that's with an outer band, so believe me, it's going to get much higher than that for wind speeds. Lowest pressure recorded is 1,005 at the moment. But when they go into the eye, you'll see the wind speeds are going to go up very rapidly. Then the wind speeds will go down drastically. The pressure will go down drastically. And then everything will go right back up. Because the Eyewall, the pressure is about, typically it's a little low, but not very low at the Eyewall. And the wind speeds are very high. And then once you get just past the Eyewall, as you're going into the eye, that millibar drops very quickly. The wind speeds almost completely quit. And then it goes in reverse pattern as you go into the outer Eyewall again. Yeah, it is a very compact storm. That's why I'm thinking this could... seriously, we could actually have a hurricane tomorrow at 8 a.m. The NHC dropped it to a hurricane at 2 p.m. I believe they used to have it at 5 a.m. I think 8 a.m. they had it being a hurricane tomorrow morning, but they pushed it to 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon now. I would say this is probably vertically stacked. I'm not exactly sure how to tell. You could definitely tell there's really good spin here, so it's definitely a low pressure. You can see the lower level spin. In my opinion, it's probably vertically stacked. We'll be able to figure out with the Recon pass, though. I'd say it is 2-cap, man. I think it is at this point. Let's see. See if we got any other new data in. Our 18Z models have been rendering whilst we've been talking here. GFS is beginning to render in now. Not like you want to take it seriously, because it's the stupid 18Z GFS. That thing's probably going to be more wrong than the word wrong. Never a good model. But we'll still look at it. It's already rendered in wrong. It's rendered the system weaker. Most models tend to do that, especially global models. Also, if you are tuning in to wonder about the Eastern U.S. impacts here, we went over that a lot at the first hour of the live stream. We've turned more towards waiting for Recon and NHC updates. We already did the NHC update. Now we're waiting for Recon. But just a quick update. For the Eastern U.S., we're looking at mainly beach erosion and higher waves being the main issues across much of the Eastern U.S., all the way from north of Miami, all the way up to Maine, southeastern Maine. The main issue will be across beaches, really beaches. Eastern NC, there is the very small chance that we could see some isolated gusty winds of tropical storm force if this thing manages to be very far west. But most likely it's going to pass in between Bermuda and North Carolina. Bermuda should end up with tropical storm force wind speeds due to how big this system will be, and it's probably going to be a little bit closer to Bermuda than North Carolina. And then we did have tropical storm watches issued as well for the northern Leeward Islands. Just to show you that real fast, whilst I close out all these other tabs that I have open. There we go. There you go. Tropical storm watches there for the far northern Lesser Antilles. Yes, that's a confirmed tornado warning in NC. There was 2. There may not be 2 anymore. Yeah, they did expire 1, and the observed one still goes for 16 minutes. So we've had 2 observed ones out here. They allowed 1 to expire, and this one still goes for another 15 minutes. Let me go over here again. Let's see about the wind shear. That's a good question. I actually haven't checked that. There was a site for current wind shear, but I have completely forgotten it. Let's see if I can go searching around for it. Catman might have it. Actually, I think I found it. I actually found it. What a shocker. Yeah, so now the wind shear is very weak. I don't know when this was updated. Oh, an hour ago. So not bad whatsoever. Very weak wind shear. Very, very weak wind shear. Only about 5, I'm assuming, knots. Normally, yep, knots. 5 knots. So, pretty much no wind shear. Very, very minimal wind shear. Shear shouldn't be a problem, really. I really don't think shear will be an issue until this storm gets, like, towards Nova Scotia or south of New Brunswick, south of Nova Scotia. That's when shear is going to be an issue. But from here all the way until it passes Bermuda, I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. The only thing it might struggle with is I don't know if I can show you. Not on this one. I was hoping to show you like the water vapor on this, but instead I will show you here. Dry air. Dry air could be an issue for like the next day or so. Pretty good dry air out in front. But that hasn't really wrapped around. It really has not wrapped around with this system at all. If we do this here, we can get a broader view of the mid-level dry air. And you can see all this wind shear out here. Or not wind shear, my bad. Dry air out here. I mean, the outer bands of this system should just push that all away and keep it away. And when it starts to go around this system, because obviously a low pressure rotates like this, so it's going to pull the dry air up and around like this, you can see the dry air is infiltrating north of the main core. So we have this huge amount of convection that is just keeping the actual low perfectly fine from dry air. So all the dry air is just chilling around the storm as opposed to actually going into the storm because your low pressure is very protected by a bunch of thunderstorm activity. Looks like we just got our first main recon pass here. Our next one will be obviously in the next 10 minutes or so. They are very close to the low. Likely not in the low yet, but very, very close to the low. So let's go see what readings we got here. Recon data. Aaron. Wind speeds. I don't think these have updated. This hasn't updated. It's updated on this, but not on the other site. That's 34 knot, 38 knot wind speeds there. So we got 38 knot wind speeds, and we're already down to 1,001 millibar. So that is about 45 or so mile-an-hour winds right there. And that might be... I don't think that's going to be as strong as it gets. I feel like there's going to be more winds here to the east, and then they're going to get into the low. I feel like they aren't in the eyewall on this update. I think the next update they will be in the eyewall and then also in the eye. See if that storm's doing anything. Still observed tornado warning out here in NC. Nah. It's done. They'll either cancel that warning or let it expire here in 11 minutes. Yeah, it is 60 mile-an-hour winds, but we're using Recon right now. This is our first Recon pass in this storm ever. First one, but definitely not the last one. Oh, I'm not on the right thing. That's why I can't do the other infrared satellite. There you go. Where's the storm now? In the middle of the ocean. There you go. So it's about, the center of it's about 590 miles northeast of Barbados. And it's moving to the west right now. So it's nowhere near land at the moment. It will likely bring land impacts in the form of mainly outer bands with isolated tropical storm force winds and wind gusts to the British Virgin Islands. Probably sometime Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning. It's going to be approaching the northern Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands. I mean, we'll see what Recon has. This is a huge pass. This is very, very big for our data and figuring out which models are good and which models are bad. This should help a lot with any uncertainty, I hope. So we're going to wait to see what this pass has. According to Tropical Tidbits, we should get it in about 7 or so minutes. Oh! And this is from Tropical Tidbits. So this is actually, it is looking like they are in the eyewall right now. Because you can see the winds drastically decrease and the pressure drastically decreases. So they're probably in the center there, and that is a maximum wind speeds of about 41 knots, which should put this just barely above 46 miles per hour. 47 miles per hour. So close. It is barely above 46 miles per hour, so there you go. There you go. And we're going to see this on the next pass, which should still be in about 7 minutes. We'll see it decrease a little bit and then book it up. Well, it's considered... we don't know if it has a full eye wall, but the winds just outside the low are the strongest. So it is considered an eye wall, really. We can't say we have a full eye wall like it's a hurricane, but the strongest winds are just outside the low, which is normal. It's not like a tropical storm, a disorganized tropical storm where the main winds are well displaced from the low. The main winds are located just outside the pressure. So I'd say it's an eye wall. I say it's an eye wall. I say it's an eye wall because your winds are highest just before the low is the lowest. Just before the pressure is the lowest. I say it's Eyewall. Yeah, it's probably not. It's not. It is not likely a full Eyewall where it's, you're what you're probably thinking of with a Cat 2 plus Hurricane. It's not that type of Eyewall. That's probably a very sloppy, unorganized Eyewall, but it is good enough to where you have that crest of winds, and then you're going to have the lowest low pressure. I don't think we've hit the lowest low pressure. The lowest low pressure should be down here, just under 1,000 millibars. So I don't think we are at the lowest low pressure. Wish we had radar on this. We might have, you never know. Never know. I'm going to go check if we do have radar on this Recon. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Just depends. Every now and then I get lucky enough to see it. Nah, this doesn't show it having radar. I don't know what Recons do and don't carry radar. I'm pretty sure all of them carry radar. It's just not all of them are available to the sites I use. Most likely. All right, so within the next 5 minutes, we should get an update from Recon, and that should be our main Recon update. Sunday to Wednesday, Maryland, Delaware. Let's see, I'll take a look here. Ooh, the GFS has changed completely. A lot stronger storm, so this 18Z actually might not be that bad of a run. It might actually be a little bit more accurate. But let me go ahead and see. So if you're in Maryland, even if you're at the beaches in Maryland, as long as it's not far southern Maryland or the very coastal southeastern side of Maryland, you're probably going to be fine. But if it's anywhere from like here, you're probably talking about somewhere along this coastline. The worst possible beach erosion would be... Give me a moment. I gotta click the right model run. I want to do the correct model run so I don't give you bad information. It would be right in here. Right in there. We could get some higher waves of about 10 feet on Thursday morning. This has Thursday morning. So, I mean, you should be really completely clear, at least completely clear Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, just make sure you're checking with, lifeguards or your local National Weather Service. And then Wednesday night into Thursday, definitely Thursday looks the worst. But it does depend on the timing. So it could get bad on Wednesday too. I would definitely watch Wednesday just in case this system's faster than forecasted. But most of our runs are saying Thursday will be the worst. So definitely clear Monday, Tuesday. For sure clear Monday, Tuesday. Ooh, yeah, you are north of where the worst would be. The highest waves. I would still, make sure you're checking with local officials and the National Weather Service. Let's see here. See if I can get a link here. So this is the RIP current link for every day. I don't think you can check the future map, but you can check the current map for today. It's in the chat, and that will bring you to the NHC, and you can see the RIP current risk. So right now, out in Delaware, there is little to no risk. Very, very little risk. This is probably going to be moderate on Wednesday and then likely high for Thursday. But I don't Oh, actually, there you go. You can actually see it for tomorrow. I didn't even know that. There's tomorrow. Today, tomorrow. So tomorrow it does go for moderate for far eastern Maryland. So just keep that in mind. You definitely don't swim too far out. Definitely don't swim too far out. You definitely do not want to go that far out. Even, even when you get there on Monday, just as a precautionary thing. All right, there's our, oh, I see purple. I see purple. That is very strong. I see a purple wind barb right there. Woo! 70 knots. That, my friends, is a hurricane in terms of flight level wind speeds. But you actually have to subtract that, because I don't think the energy goes off of flight level. You're going to have to go down by a couple miles per hour. So even though that's hurricane at flight level, surface, that's probably closer to 70, maybe 75. I mean, we are talking about a high-end tropical storm right now. I'd say 70, maybe 75. With the millibar, the lowest millibar being 998, I say 70 mile per hour winds, yes. I say 70 mile an hour winds, 998. I think that's reasonable. So 998, a little bit higher pressure than I was thinking. But those winds are substantially higher than I was thinking. Okay, this says, hold on, this says 66 knots. This says like 69, 70 knots. And what does this site say? Let me go to here. View exact data. Okay, this says 68 knots. Which one is it? What? 68. Okay, 68 knots. I'm going with 68 knots because that's in between the 70 knots that I said and the 66 knots you see on your screen. So 68 knots, that would put it at 78 miles per hour, and you always want to go a little bit lower because this is at flight level, so we can round it easily to 70. I would say 70. I would say 70 miles per hour is very reasonable. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, 70 mile an hour winds I think is very reasonable. Very high-end tropical storm, borderline hurricane right now. Yeah, one of my, somebody who I follow who's way more knowledgeable with hurricane data than me, he just tweeted on Twitter, flight level winds of around 71 knots is what he's saying. He said 71 knots. It just depends. It's anywhere from 66 to 71 knots. And he says that's supportive of surface winds of 70 to 75. So, in my opinion, that millibar being 998, I'm going more with the lenient high-end tropical storm, not a hurricane. So, I would say the next advisory is probably going to be 990, probably 997, 70 mile per hour winds. Oh, this stupid glitch happened. Stop it. Stupid thing. I got this dumb glitch on Streamlabs now. What I have to do is I have to switch the source code. It's so brilliant. Ta-da! I have to switch the source, and now I don't got that stupid border. There's a stupid yellow border that appears on your screen every now and then. Well, I'm gonna probably conclude here 5 minutes shy of 2 hours and 25 minutes in. Since they're completely through the eyewall and everything, I've got food waiting on me and it's cold now, so rip. But I'm gonna go eat it at least when it's a little bit warm. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, set it to all. Share this stream and this channel with your family, friends, social media. We'll be live definitely Saturday. Tomorrow is 50-50. And yeah, make sure you hit that like button. We're 5 likes away from the like goal of this stream. We went through a lot of information today, so if you're wanting to know the latest information, you can go back to the first about 30 minutes of this live stream. Other than that, make sure you are tuning into your local National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center for the best information for your area, as well as local meteorologists. Definitely check the National Hurricane Center a minimum of 4 times a day. They update at least every 6 hours. If it threatens land, that turns to 3 hours. If it's about to make landfall, that turns to every 1 hour. So minimum updates from the NHC is every 6 hours. At this point, I'm pretty sure they're doing every 3-hour advisories. So make sure you're tuning into the National Hurricane Center at least every 3 to 6 hours. Every single day, especially if you are in Puerto Rico, all the way through Guadeloupe. If you're in Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, and in North Carolina, you definitely want to be seeing how this forecast evolves. As if we see any further southern or western shifts, you could definitely end up with tropical storm characteristics, or rather tropical storm impacts impacting your area, not characteristics. Oh man, tropical storm impacts. Doing good till the end right there. So with that being said, I appreciate all the mods from Mod Chat, everybody, for being here today. Let me go over to the super chats. I appreciate Charles for the, oh man, making me do math, $8, $8 donations today. He did a $2, $1, $3, $2. So I greatly appreciate your donations. And of course, just being here, watching the stream, hitting that like button, sharing it, all that stuff goes on top of whatever else you are doing here. Literally just watching is very, very helpful to the channel. And then subscribing is more on top of that. Like button on top of that. Sharing on top of that. It really, really helps the channel and helps us reach over 4,500 people with the word of this tropical storm and very soon to be hurricane. Very soon to be Hurricane Aaron. So again, I really appreciate all you guys being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys definitely Saturday, maybe tomorrow. Just make sure you're subscribed with that notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload another video. Again, thank you, chat. Thank you, mods from Mod Chat. And also thank you, Hi there, for chatting a lot. I appreciate it. Stay safe and watch severe weather and the tropics. Goodbye. Caleb, that's Utah, not Colorado. Learn your states, bud. Stay safe. Watch for your weather in the tropics. See you guys in either tomorrow or Saturday's live stream. Have a great rest of